bills when all that I can claim. I ain't got a single penny to my name. My neighbor says he's bothered by what I cannot see. Says that I can launder off what clothes should be. But at the end of the day, it's all that matters. Oh, I pray just to feel good at the end of the day. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, yeah, it's all that matters. Oh, I pray just to feel good at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you gotta feel good at the end of the day. It's all that matters. Oh, I pray just to feel good at the end of the day.
Fallout 76 is the worst game ever. And the sad part is I still enjoy it because I still like Fallout and Bethesda games. Skyrim's my favorite game of all time. Now, if I were to score that game, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, which is why you differentiate favorite and best, but I digress. The point is, I'm really forgiving with Bethesda games, like incredibly forgiving. I even enjoyed playing Fallout 4, even though that game was the worst RPG I've ever played by Bethesda. It was still an entertaining time, there were interesting locations, the gameplay had been improved, and my hope with Fallout 76 was they would give you more of an opportunity to play with your friends and kind of create your own storyline and do some role-playing, because, you know, in Fallout 4 you couldn't. No matter what you did, you were basically just guy or girl looking for their kid. You couldn't be a raider, you couldn't be anything else, because every second dialogue option in the game was, where the hell is my son? So I thought, okay, maybe Fallout 76 could let us make our own fun a little bit more. And to an extent it does. But half the time when I'm having fun in the game, it's because I'm laughing at the incomprehensible amount of bugs and glitches and terrible design decisions in this game. Fallout 76 needed another 2 years of development time. And I'm not kidding, this is in an internal beta state at the very least. This should never have been released to the public. The main enemy in the freaking game can't hold their weapons correctly. This has been what it's like since day one. Half the enemies, the Scorch that you fight, they're basically reskinned ghouls that are allowed to wield weapons because they couldn't have raiders in this one, I guess. So they're like, okay, let's put in some ghouls that wield shotguns and hunting rifles. Except they all wield them upside down and half reloaded. You can see the bullets outside of the gun floating in the air, and their arms are all twisted in these manic ways, and they don't aim at you when they're firing at you, but they hit you anyways. This is the most prominent enemy in the entire game, and they couldn't get it right. It sums up the entire product of Fallout 76. Now, quit with your comments right now. I understand the game is still fun for people. That's cool. I'm still enjoying it. When I'm playing with other people especially, I have fun because playing a Bethesda game with someone else and exploring around and fighting bosses, finding cool items, is inherently enjoyable. The problem is, it should be more enjoyable, and it shouldn't try to break my immersion every 2 minutes, because that's how often I'm running into bugs and glitches. The montage you saw at the start was only the stuff I was able to record. We didn't go over things like the game crashing, freezing, not letting people log in. One time I was playing with Sid Alpha, and his character sat in my house and logged off, and then his character proceeded to stay in my house, but remove all his clothes. He was sitting naked in my house. I've had a vertibird follow me across half the map trying to attack me, but because it can't get the angle on me correct, it just flies around in a circle and then takes 2 shots at me every 5 minutes. I've had super mutants shooting at me from 300 feet in the air. Look, the fact is that this game makes me incredibly infuriated because it's at the same quality as half the asset flips and half the really shoddily made video games that I play on this channel are. And that's really unacceptable from a big-name publisher. It does make it worse because I do enjoy the general gameplay and I enjoy Fallout as a brand and as a series of games. And I'm not angry because I dislike Bethesda because I think they're the worst publisher out there. I'm angry because I think that this game could have been good if they gave it the proper development time. I'm incredibly worried that this discourages them from doing more multiplayer-oriented stuff in the future. Can you imagine if they had just made Fallout 4 like 4-player co-op instead? That would have been infinitely more enjoyable in my opinion. Instead, they went for survival for babies, where they put like 20 people in a map and they give them no cause or reason to interact beyond maybe trading, even though pretty much every item in the game is worthless. PvP is even discouraged because both players have to shoot at each other, otherwise you have no hope of killing anybody. And I get that's to combat griefing, but unless you're playing with a group now, whenever you run into someone, you at most do a little emote to them, then you go on your merry way. And at that point, what the hell is the point in even making the game multiplayer? All it's done is ruin the economy system in the game, where everything you sell is between 1 and 6 caps, and you only get limited storage space at your camps. Not to mention they disappear every little while. If the game was just a single-player co-op oriented game, you could have one person that saves it and acts as the host and everyone else joins it. That way all the stuff you make at all the different camps can stay there forever on that save file, and everything would be hunky-dory. But screw it! It's gotta be multiplayer, there's gotta be a bunch of people running around, it has to be a live service, this has to be profitable for Bethesda for years on end. Like, if this game worked correctly, I wouldn't really care that it's a live service, I wouldn't care that they expect you to play this every day for years. Because at the end of the day, this is a spin-off title. It's not like they got rid of Elder Scrolls 6 for this, or they got rid of Fallout 5. This is their in-between release where they want to try something different, kind of like what they did when they hired Obsidian to make New Vegas. So the general gameplay is basically like Fallout 4, you know, and I think that Fallout 4's gameplay is improved from the previous titles. It's a bit more action focused, everything works a bit smoother. You don't get these ridiculous misses when you're firing at something that's right in front of you quite as often. Still has room for improvement, still feels and looks incredibly dated, but it's serviceable enough. The big problem is that VATS is completely broken. 1 minute you'll be having a 95% chance to hit something, then by the time you press the mouse button to fire, it's gonna drop down to 0% and you're gonna waste half your AP. So I stopped using VATS, I just got a shotgun that barely ever misses and I start shooting everything that way. The game looks incredibly dated, and I forgive that with Bethesda games quite often, but something about this one, especially with recent releases in 2018, makes this look like a game from like 2010. Something about all the browns and the grays and the blacks that they've put into this game just makes all the textures look like they're made of Play-Doh. I've got my LOD cranked all the way up, and it still looks like there's Vaseline on the screen when I look past 100 feet. I'm assuming that's probably to try to increase performance and probably something to do with the multiplayer, but it's incredibly distracting. When Elder Scrolls Online has a better LOD than the actual Bethesda-made multiplayer video game, then we've got a little bit of a problem. I think the creation engine as a whole just needs to be scrapped. It needs to be retired, put out of its misery. At this point, I'm basically comparing the Gamebryo engine to the career of The Undertaker from WWE. He's a legend. He's had some of the greatest matches and feuds in the entire company's history, but he's still wrestling today. Eventually, it tarnishes legacies when you see The Undertaker as a 50-something-year-old man desperately trying to meander across the ring to hit somebody. Just like when you see the creation engine desperately trying to support a multiplayer game in 2018. This really doesn't bode well for Starfield. How are they gonna make a sci-fi game using this engine? Anyways, enough about geriatric wrestlers and games that aren't Elder Scrolls 6. Let's talk about the terrible storyline in this game. By which I mean it's a bunch of holotapes. You wander around, You find these boxes that have supplies in them, and then a holotape that tells you where somebody was and all this interesting stuff that happened while you weren't there, and then you have to go and clean up after everybody, but you never meet anyone else that isn't a player. And then the other quest lines, you just go to a location, and it starts an area quest that's like an instance that other players can join, but they're really just go to this terminal, type in some stuff, and then fight a bunch of enemies. Then when it's done, a bunch of stuff gets automatically added to your inventory. Even a regular MMO has you go up to an NPC so they can give you something, but the only NPCs in the game are robots. Oh, and I found one NPC super mutant as well, but he was just a traitor that did the same thing as the robots. I just feel like it's kind of insane that nobody said, hey, maybe this game has a lot of issues and we should try something different when they got a quarter way through developing the game. But then they decided, a quarter way through developing the game, whatever, let's release it next month. If you're thinking about buying this game, don't. Don't buy it. Just don't. It's not worth your time. The only time I really have fun playing this game is when I'm playing with other people, and that's because you can laugh at stuff together. You do get a lot of that exploration feel that you do from other Bethesda games. You find some cool locations and stuff, but you only run into like the same 4 enemies for the first 20 hours of the game. Because if you go to any other region, you're horribly out-leveled and outgunned. And any more powerful gun you find, you can't use until you're a higher level anyways. So I'm stuck with a goddamn hunting rifle until level 20. It just ain't worth your time. Maybe in a year and a half or 2 years when patches come out and the game is maybe in a bit of a better state, you could buy it with a couple of friends for like 20 bucks a piece and then have some fun with it. But as a $60 game, that's a big nope from the Patty Man. So I guess in short, I'm both angry and disappointed at this game. And the creation/Gamebryo engine needs to be retired into a retirement home, given a lot of pills so it passes out most of the day. Then when it wakes up, it can go look at some old photos on the desk of Morrowind and remember when life used to be good.
I'm just